Blessed Shabbat, Yasha'Allah, to all the diaspora, all the tribes of Yasha'Allah. I say, Shalom, in the name of Abba, Yahweh, our Father, and Mashiach, the Father's well-beloved, our Messiah, in the mighty Ruach. Thank God for this privilege, once more, to be in your company and in the midst, even on the Shabbat, to worship and esteem the beauty of set apartness in Abba Yahweh through the Mashiach in the mighty, invincible, inexhaustible Ruach of his spirit. I think, Yasha'Allah, that I'm having an experience today that I think can be described as similar. I mean, it's how I feel. It's how I am taking it, as an experience akin to what our Mashiach was experiencing as he went, as he was in the Garden of Gethsemane, laboring under the weight of the sin of the world to go forth to purchase our redemption. I think I'm getting more of an experience or what seems to be similar to what our Mashiach experienced in the garden. It's some kind of awful, heavy, and distressing experience. Nevertheless, I am grateful unto Abba for allowing me to be in your company and to share with you a few moments of impartation of his precious word with gladness this morning, Yasha'Allah, and let it be the anchor that grips the soul, the being of Yasha'Allah in the diaspora, and strengthen us with endurance for the battle and for our undertaking, our task, the path that we treading needs strength. So comes the word of Abba Yah to strengthen, to confirm us, to confirm you, Yasha'Allah. Be strengthened. Yea, be strengthened, said the Malakim to our forefather Daniel. We have started, I think I can call it a series of lessons understanding of how Yasha came into captivity under the nations, and finally to be overtaken by the chief of the nations that would enslave Yasha for the duration of the 400 years, and put the brakes, if I may use that word, put the brakes on Yasha and cause Yasha to experience the real fact of the weight or the experience, actually, of, I might use the word separation, yes. I need a better rendition to express the fact that Abba Yah had given us Yasha up, given us our fathers, and of course, transgressions, for not even knowing that our fathers had given us up. As they said in Matthew, his blood be on us and on our children. When it came time for the crucifixion, I mean, the very period of intense, maybe the most intense part of the suffering of Hamashiach, that occasion courage. Generally, we deserted him and left him. Although we have in the scriptures to show where Kappa, certain others of the apostles attended him as best they could. And even they shrink back from the awesome pressure of the moment. Satan, who got the Jewish to put into the scriptures his name and made it as the name God, that we try to defend. I guess every day we try to defend the name God. That's idolatry unto Satan. But so it was that under the pressure of Gethsemane, and having committed himself to Abba Yah, when the Malachim came and strengthened him, encouraged him for the task that he was undertaking. He got up from his prayer and said to his apostles, "Arise and let us be going. Behold, he that betrayeth me is at hand." So it's right now to recap or finish the recap of the fact that Abba Yah gave us up to the punishment of physically. Yes, come. Pardon me, Yasha Allah. Got a visitor for a moment. One of our brothers. Okay. So we find then that Abaya, according to all his word, proclaimed by his prophets and prophetess, proclaim a, if I could use the word, proclaim a set apart beating for Yasha Allah. Your wealth, including the scriptures, unto the enemy, even to the chief enemy, Esau. And because of your fall, according to the book of, I believe it's Romans, all the world became rich, super rich, and full of basically everything. To fulfill the cup of his wrath against Yasha Allah. So this is what I've been sharing with you to help you stable view and understanding of our condition. That is Abaya, who turned us over to the nations, Satan. Because Satan is the ruler of the nations. So if we came under the nations, I mean, it is more than by proxy of the fallen one, the envious one. Remember me sharing with you his envy to Mashiach from in the Shamayim? That envy, that hatred, that, I mean, that death grip of envy that overtook him in the Shamayim against Mashiach. Having been located, thrust out from the Shamayim under the earth, we see from the book of Bereshith the havoc that he has brought into the earth through our first mother. I want you women to hear it, and hear it good. You're not getting and build the nation of Yasha Allah. But first, we're looking at the fact that all of our wealth was given to the nations. Abaya did it. They didn't steal it as we were, I think now, used to saying that the nation stole from us. No, Abaya gave it to them because of our rebellion. Let's look at it that way now. But there's yet good news, Yasha Allah, because we have here, let's look at Jeremiah, we call it Jeremiah, and look at Jeremiah 50. Because we are still in the mode of recovery, Yasha Allah, and yet, or have yet been, and to some degree, still under the control of the nations, for instance, and along with him, Levi. I trust you're beginning to get the understanding, Yasha'Allah, that the Most High has been sending to us, his beloved, against him. Levi that fought for the honor of Abaya under the mountain, as they were there waiting for Moshe to come down with the 10 Commandments. Yasha'Allah went wild with lust, with determination, and to go wild under the enticement of the fallen ones, under Satan. Yeah, that's who was tempting them. And they were yielding to it and seeking to break away from the Most High and the Torah. And Levi stood up. He got fame but now look where Levi is today. Today, into Levi, the beloved Levi, is torn away from Abaya, following in the line of the envy of Gadriel that he brought him, being thrust out, kicked out of the Shamayim, brought his envy against the Mashiach. This was like Sly and the Family Stones saying, this was a family affair in the Shamayim. But you got to get it, Yasha'Allah, when you look at 2nd Ezra's, Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2, verses 23 and 24. It highlights or projects the understanding of the envy of Gadriel that we might have taken too lightly. We thought it had only to do with the Garden of Eden. But when you take a closer look, when we really stop to consider the proposal of Gadriel in his attempt, in fact, in the achieved through Howard's envy. You got to hear this, sisters, this morning. Through envy. Through that same envy of the devil overcame our first mother. She envied Adam as Gadriel envied the Mashiach and has raised all this havoc in the cosmos because of his envy against the Mashiach. So we want you to understand, Yasha'Allah, that what you and I have been experiencing is that our forefathers have it seems quite evident that they didn't take the time to consider, to look into the matter, that they would have been able to, pull the situation apart, if you will, and to see the thread, to see the glue, if you will, to see the principle of evil that was being projected, Gadriel and the fallen host that was leading them. And when you look in the Torah, you see the effect of the Freemasonic order upon them as the kings. You know the kings, they rub shoulders with each other And Yasha Allah, I might say, was willing, our kings, you know, king meets king, and they talk king talk, and walk king walk, share king ideas, and they were sharing the kingly rebellion against the Ruach. And in the privacy of their hearts, that rebellion against the Mashiach. That's what was going on in Yasha Allah. So even as the Mashiach came, who was the only begotten of Abba Yah, Father, who was hid in Abba Yahweh, and through the eternal Spirit was made manifest, that we could behold him. And we see in Hebrews chapter 10, verse 5, where Abba Yah made a body, prepared a body for the Mashiach to inhabit from himself, of course, with the help, assistance, if you will, of Miriam. She would have been, or now we would regard her as a mother in Yasha Allah, in Yasharah, even though at the time she was young, very young. But she was willing to be used to be an instrument in the hand of Abba Yah to bring forth his precious one. Oh, Yasha Allah, you got to understand, in his bid to salvation to our world that got torn away from him in the sin of our first parents, through a woman who is still in rank rebellion today in Yasha, giving the nations a feeling of camaraderie in the rebellious attitude to the Most High. Most High has surely visited his terror upon Yasha Allah, forgiving themselves, our forefathers, Gabriel, and all the fallen ones, in their operations against Torah, against the word and the will of Abba Yah, as he expressed it through the prophets from the very beginning. And so now, today, as we consider the trumpets are sounding Yasha Allah to let you know that we have been in grave danger. We put ourselves, our forefathers, put us in grave danger, departing away from the Most High Yah. And even in the time of visitation, as the Mashiach puts it, us back to him. We showed the atmosphere in Yasha Allah, our forefathers, and pronounce the very words of, I guess I could say, terror from people who were given, who had the gift of life and salvation conferred upon them, to the Most High himself, who sent his beloved, his well-beloved, Hamashiach. And we, Yasha Allah, participated along with Esau You got to get this. Because at this time, Mashiach and the returned tribes of Yehuda or Yehuda were in the land, and they had and died. Zedekiah, eh? Yeah, we may use the word. They were buck naked before the Most High. Esau and the Romans controlling them to priesthood over Yasha'Allah. Despicable men and unclean Esau trying to have kingship over Yah's heritage, Yehuda. But the Most High backed off, let them have what they wanted. And still we find that at that period, our brothers, the Maccabees, the progenitors of they were nursing another seed of rebellion against the Most High Yah and against His anointed, who came to be a priest king, a priest malach over Yasha'Allah. And this turned the Maccabees, or the Maccabeans, this turned them out. This rubbed them the wrong way, that the Most High was sending His well-beloved to take on the task, the humanly impossible task of resetting the standard of righteousness in the midst of the nation He loved, and righteousness for the world. So the Maccabees were against that. They turned to be against that. And when Titus and Vespasian were through with their ideals and their achieving their quest for the destruction of the Second Temple and the dispersion of Yehuda, we had included in, excuse me for the word, but I think I could use it at this time, for their dispersion of the pack of Yehuda that were sent out, forced out of the homeland. Because the Mashiach said, if you had known in this your day the things that belong to your peace, even then Yasha'Allah in the tribe of Yehuda was not prepared to listen and obey. And so the house fend for them anyhow. Well, the king who was there, the king who came to defend them, they gave him up, left him to be crucified by Esau, by the Romans. Three days later, 3 full days, in the end of the Shabbat, as we read in the broken up, disheveled works of the New Covenant renderings, what we call the New Testament, those torn up works that Esau put in there. You see Abba Yah, through the eternal Ruach, raised up Mashiach, our redemption. And yet today, we see it written in the book. And Yasha'Allah is in rank rebellion. You got brothers who want to set up, what should I say, forums to argue about the reality of the Mashiach, while today you are still having your heads beaten by Esau and the nations. You can't see the redemption that Abba Yah has provided for you, for us. However, for those of us who know already, what the Apostle Paul say of Mashiach, the power in Romans chapter 1 or 2, the power of Elohim unto salvation, the wisdom of Abba Yah to salvation, to life, even life eternal, everlasting. We want to go on now and show you, Yasha'Allah, that inasmuch as Abba Yah and his anger and fury against or toward the rotten, distinct behavior of Yasha'Allah, following behind the nation's ideals. Indeed, following behind Esau, and furthermore, leader of Esau, Gabriel, Satan. When you go into the books of the kings and the books of the kings and through the other writings, you see this view of the kings of Yasha'Allah, the evil kings of Yasha'Allah, throwing the gates of divination open to the entrance of the demonic and Satan, and opening himself to the chief, the most forward implementation endeavor against the nation in the form of places, high place or high places. And I've shared with you already the fact that these high places, as they were called then, are today called the Masonic Lodge, the Masonic Temple. The brood beasts in Yaship with the nations and becoming a part of the Masonic temples and the lodges of our day, whom now Father is sending, ruling upon them. Today, as I speak to you, his wrath is coming against them. You Masonic temples, you Masonic powerhouse of the earth. Your time is now. Abba is coming for you now. You can see how much power you think you have. You thought you had some power. You come all the way from, way back there with Inky and Enlil and that breed. In the ancient world, came with Freemasonry. From then, hitched it up into Mizraim, Egypt, whereby Egypt endeavored to subdue Yasha'Allah under its enslavement. The Most High destroyed Egypt, broke it up with plagues, and beatings and drownings. Drown them to hell. So it's a copy, a pattern of what he's going to do to you, the Freemasonic, that thought you owned the world, that thought your father owned the world, or can indeed own the world and own the people redeemed by the Mashiach, the one altogether lovely, the one whom your father has envied from in the Shamayim, which envy is causing to get cast down and coming down here in the earth, continued his envy against the first couple and our first mother, locked into that envy against our first father, brought the blight of rebellion and sin into the human family. And here we are. After all the warnings, pleadings of Abaya, that we should follow him, take his direction, give heed to the Torah. He said no. No, I mean, you had in Jeremiah, you had women, you had Eve. I mean, you had Hawa coming up to the challenge and taking the authority over the man. And in the exchange between Yasha'Allah and Abaya, as he sent Jeremiah with word to them, to counsel them, and to get a view of their understanding of or how they view the relationship between himself, Abaya, and Yasha'Allah. The women, despicable, disgusting, menstruous women, spoke up and said, we ain't doing what the Most High said. Because while we were enthralled in our disobedience and rebellion, our men were right there with us, sucking it up. Men allowing women lead them into rebellion against Abaya and brought the whole nation down. The Most High committed unto Yasha'Allah great heritage, a great and wonderful heritage, of which the whole earth is envious of. I want you to see this word envy, because it ain't gonna stop coming up from now on. You're gonna see all you're dealing with envy and hate coming thereof from all those who are in opposition to Abaya, in opposition to his well-beloved Hamashiach. That's why our forefather David in the Psalms pronounced the kings of the earth, the rulers, they were all gathered together against Yahweh. And Abba says, come here, son, sit on my right hand until I make these enemies a footstool for you to rest your foot on when you have destroyed them. In the book of Ezekiel says that even Gadriel and the wicked, they shall be ashes on the soles of the foot and the feet of the righteous. So our Mashiach, our Malak, the one altogether lovely, Abaya said, you can have your day, my son. Sit right here and be cool. I'm bringing it up. Today, Abaya is bringing it on. So let me show you. Let us show you here. Let Abba Robak show you. Jeremiah 50. In fact, yes. And 24. Abiyah says to Babylon, today's Babylon, England and America, in the forefront. In verse 24, he says, how? Well, I take verse 23 first. That says, how is Babylon become a desolation among the nations? Now, remember, we were showing you how the fury and the anger and the fierceness of Abiyah's wrath has come against Yasha'Allah and torn us apart, scattered us all to the earth, out our bodies, and the enslavement exercise tore away the babies, tore away our babies, fed them to the alligators and so forth. The Masonic order, Yasha'Allah, will engage yourself into the Masonic. Abiyah coming for you. Mark my words, coming for you. You with the hammer of the whole earth, carrying your hatred against the Most High. And let me show you Yasha'Allah. The basic platform of Freemasonry is homosexuality. I throw it in your teeth. Bring any of your scholars from anywhere, from any level, bring them. And let the word of Yah tear them apart and show them who they are. The chief leading idea of Gabriel, your father, whom you serve, you brag about, his chief idea is to destroy the unity of relationship between men and women. I know you can't get away from it, but you think you would be smart enough to do so. You can't get away from it. That's the core of Freemasonry, to destroy relationship between men and women, to destroy the kingdom of Yah in the midst of humanity, and in particular, Yasha'Allah. So, in slavery, Esau's chief aim to pull the family apart, pull it all apart, as Yasha'Allah aimed to do, because this was the pathway that the rebellion of Yasha'Allah was leading to, tearing the family up. So when the slavery was instituted under Freemasonry, I want you to get that. Freemasonry instituted enslavement of 12 tribes, but in particular, we're speaking of in Yehuda, in Judah, where we are now. Freemasonry is the leading factor, the lead ideology, the leader of the pack of evil. Abiyah, coming for you, Freemasonry. Oh, you.